Hello, here I am again. It is now 14:48 on the 27th of March. The previous one I had to stop because there was a knock on the door. And in any case, my rabbit hole saga, I've covered transcending to resurrecting, and I'm quite skewy here. I don't know. Touch this thing and then everything goes, oops. It's very sensitive where it's being held at. But in any case, the other thing that I've come to, what is the common factor when it comes to ascended masters? And there are many. There are Western, Eastern, in basically every modality in every country. The old Egyptians, the old Indians, the old African earthly people, everybody had a modality that they followed. And today we have it in the sense of religions and all those things. But I've tried to, I didn't go through all of them. I chose 3 of them, which was Yeshua, Christ as we know him, Kuan Yin, Confucius, Almoray, Saint Germain. And out of all of those, I understood one thing. Some of them came, Buddha as well, some of them came out of an affluent family, some of them came out of a poverty-stricken family. So the awakening to the modalities that they have created was different from the points where they were at. Because sometimes we think people that are born into affluence and born with this golden spoon in their mouths don't have a problem. But I've realized that from things that I've read, that life can be so perfect, but there's always a desire. There's always a yearning for something. And most of us don't even know what that desire is. There has to be more to life. And those that are born in poverty, knows they want a more stable life. They want they want enough to come by. They don't have to scavenge for what they need to eat and to wear and stuff like that. And through all of these ascended masters, the common factor was exactly the same, maybe worded differently, but it came down to the very plain and simple virtues. And because I know the Yeshua's virtues, I used that as a reference point to compare all the others, of all the other ascended masters. And I just came to understand that everything comes down to the same thing. Love and compassion, humility, forgiveness, patience, obedience, caring for the planet. And it all comes down to basically love. Love for all that is. And all of their journeys were different. Some of them went to go and seek it in seclusion. Now, that is why I have such a great respect for Yeshua, for Christ, because he lived it. He lived it. He transcended it through physical pain, which, although the Holy Scripture presents it as everything is physical, but the spiritual connotation to that pain, the lashes, having to walk away of the hundreds and thousands, probably millions of people that followed him, that gave him nothing in return. He walked away from it. But when he walked away from it, he didn't put his backpack on and walked away. He sat in the pain of having to give it up. This was giving up the people that were his followers, for simple reason of what they can do for him. Because during the period of time after they'd gotten everything, the healing and the feeding and whatever, they spat on him. They rebuked him. They blasphemed him. When he said no more. And those lashes that Yeshua suffered, that they explained so physically, I think it was his darkest rabbit hole that he sat in, because I am the Messiah. I am the messenger who's bringing the plan of God to the people, and here I am saying, I'm not doing this anymore. But what the message was to me was, he wasn't saying, I'm not doing this anymore. He simply was saying, I'm not doing it the way that you expect, that my human ego obligated me to do it, the way that I now gave people permission to have an expectation of me, that I now obligated myself to fulfill their expectations of me by obligating myself, because I am the Messiah. And that made me think so deeply, because now I could resonate what it meant by saying, no more am I giving myself to everybody else in the name of. Because God probably didn't tell him to do it that way, but that 18 years is living as a human and having a family and having felt human love and having given over to human temptations, knowing he was the Messiah, but he had to live a life of a human being and going through the trials and tribulation. Because why would he have been a carpenter? He had to be a carpenter to need to earn money to feed his family, not his parents or his father. His family he chose, Mary Magdalene. There was offspring, but they don't tell us that. Because once they give us the essence of Yeshua's battle as a human being, to have walked away from it, which his wife supported him because she knows he was a Messiah. And having gone and done it the way he did it when he came back, reminded me of my life. There were so many times when I did not do things for people because they were expecting too much, but I would come back and I would get caught up in their situations again. That normally comes with family, title, sibling, obligation. And I asked myself, if I can resonate with that part, not the Messiah, but the obligation, the mindset, the human mindset that we think we have to do things a certain way. And Yeshua ascended his way of doing things. When those lashings came in the crucifixion to me is literally, the cross he bore was the obligation, because it was heavy. The cross was heavy, the obligation was heavy to be a Messiah because of the way that he did it. And if we look into scripture, he was literally starving. He was literally dying on his feet. The way in which he did it brought him to that point in his life. And when they depict him hanging on the cross, he represented that moment the obligation of the old mindset of Adam that was crucifying, laying to rest the old mindset of human being, because he was not being, he was being human. And when he crucified the old mindset of the way he brought the gospel, when they say he died before he resurrected, yes, he died a spiritual death of the way of thinking. That's when he faced the darkness. Because now he knows darkness and he saw the light. Revelation of suffering within his own body, his own salvation, his own health. The revelation of that has now shed the light on the darkness of the way he was doing something. And that was the 3-day battle to me that Yeshua went through. I'm probably going to be crucified for my way of seeing this. But I wanted to resonate with what makes an ascended master, because I know you have to transcend. I know you have to resurrect an old mindset. But after you resurrect, the way you do things is different. That means you have ascended. And if I look at all the ascended masters, I've never read their whole life history. I only read enough where it came to the point of the transcending, resurrecting to ascending. They all did it. They all overcame the mindset of expectation and obligation. They all resurrected to a new mindset of embracing themselves within God consciousness, Christ consciousness, whichever consciousness, but to a higher consciousness. They embrace that within themselves, and that is why I'm saying my respect is very high for Yeshua, because he went through it physically. He didn't just pack up his bag and whoops, fled to the mountain. Nothing wrong with that. He stayed, fought it, overcame it, transcended, raptured, resurrected, and after the 3 days of the crucifixion of the old Adam, he ascended. What did they say? He glowed. How many times do we talk of glow-ups in consciousness conversations? But the Bible said he glowed. Yeshua glowed. But he was still in human form. He was still a human being. He wasn't a spirit yet. He was embracing the spirit in its wholeness. He still had to eat, because it says he ate with his handful of followers that he had now. He wasn't appearing every day, 3 times a day, healing everybody. He came to understand that it wasn't his place to heal everybody. It was his place to give them the plan. But the healing had to happen according to their own experiences and their own awakenings and their own transcendence and their own raptures and resurrections. Because everybody has a different life. Nobody's the same. But the plan is transcending, resurrecting. But we first transcend, we rapture, we resurrect. Then we ascend. Because the moment we become a state of being within our human selves, we are all ascending. I'm not a master, by no means. But I've ascended my old mindset because I overcame it. I had the rapture and I resurrected from the old mindset. And I'm living in the new mindset, which means I've ascended. Who's going to crucify me for this? But because, remember when we were younger, God was always out there, Satan was always on the left, and the angels were on the right. And a lot of us understand today that God is not out there, Satan is not out there. It is our own darkness and our own light that we carry. It's just the one that we feed. And there's an old saying, that's the old Indian saying about the white wolf and the dark wolf or something, but which wolf are you feeding, which means the one is of light and the one is of dark, because that is eventually what you will follow and who you will become. And it is not an out of there saying, it is actually the truth in the spiritual sense, using a physical example. And that is exactly what the Holy Scripture, the Bible, is as well, is using a physical example, because a human mind cannot comprehend what the spiritual connotation is of the physical presentation. Because as a human being, we hear in pictures, and we hear words, but we are fast programming inside, so everything in our life is about pictures. In our lives are about, that is the way our mind works. Our words become pictures. We have movies in our head. How do you make a spiritual movie? Because it's unseen. That was not just the rapture. Oh my word. It is unseen. A spiritual battle is unseen because you are not fighting anybody. You're fighting yourself. We are simply fighting ourselves to be different. Because this vessel has to be taken care of. There's no doubt about it. And now, going back to Yeshua, in that moment where he was literally dying, he was so hungry, he didn't have enough strength to pray. He was exhausted. That was before his crucifixion. He was exhausted. How do you bring forth the gospel? Because it's not working for you. You are tired. You are exhausted. How do you bring forth what the plan is if you are so destitute and desperate? That is why it is imperative when they say self-love, it's take care of the physical being, the physical human, the human body. We have to take care of it because it is carrying the spiritual within us. So if this is sick, how do we do it? What does 1, 2, and 3 mean to me? Basically, a spiritual transformation out of physical pain. A spiritual transformation out of a physical pain. I think in the one video I said, there is an emotion that touches your mind, your heart, and your body. And your soul screams. I didn't even think of it that way when I wrote it down. And when we hear the screaming of the soul, when I heard my soul screaming, it became a spiritual transformation. Once my body suffered the physical pain of all the emotional traumas that I went through, my body eventually spoke about it. My body eventually manifested that I wasn't even aware of it, because I was just living automatically. Please understand. He's saying that, oh, you can take the horse to the water, but you cannot make it drink. And I thought about that before I started this rabbit hole saga. And I said, but I'm not wanting anybody to drink, because just like it wasn't Jesus' responsibility to heal everybody, and when he gave up on that responsibility of healing everybody and just letting them know what's the plan. So It is seeing the spiritual transforming after the physical pain. And I've got such a great respect for Yeshua. He lived their virtues to the T. The obligation killed him. When he laid down the obligation, he became the ascended master. And so did all of them. They all had different ways of doing it. It comes into one and the same prerequisite. Transcend an old mindset. Oh, the rapture. Resurrect into the new mindset. Living in the new mindset, which means ascended from the old completely. Within our physical reality, which has all got to do with our relationships. Our relationships. It can be the cause of our joy, it can be the cause of our pain. And it all starts with the desire to want to feel better, to want to feel good. And I'll say it again. Love ourselves. Love yourself at the level you want somebody to love you. And Jesus did that after the crucifixion. He only gave his time to a few people, and he only appeared 15 times. Because then he loved himself. Because he came first for him to be able to fulfill his mission. Love yourself at the level you want somebody else to love you, or anybody else. That goes for respecting yourself, and validating yourself, knowing your self-worth, and all-encompassing comes from the kindness you give yourself and the patience. Because with this transcending our old mindsets come a lot of guilt and a lot of shame. And that is where we need the patience, the courage, and the kindness towards ourselves. That's where we need to embrace ourselves. Like Truth Wave says, soul love. Thank you for taking time. If you reached this far, thank you. Because your energy is so precious and I would not want to waste it. So I say thank you. It's much appreciated. Go well. Be blessed. Stay safe. Again, have patience with yourself. Be kind. Until next time.